Hello and welcome to today's live session. I'm very pleased to welcome you to this moment. We are going to spend the next hour together. I have a little bit of feedback in my ear, so we're going to fix that here. Perfect. Sorry, a little technical problem. So, welcome to this LinkedIn Live. We are here together today. My name is Melissa Ciciola. I'm co-founder and director of management consulting here at Bronte. And I have the pleasure of being accompanied by Neil Titcomb, Senior VP, and Jack Murray, Solutions Consultant Lead from Creo AI, in order to be able to walk you through conversational analytics and answer any questions you may have. So in this format of a LinkedIn Live, we are live streaming. However, you can write your questions in the chat here on LinkedIn. If you are watching this and it is not live, you can still add your questions. Please don't worry about that, and we will get back to you with any answers. We won't be able to answer the conversation like here in the discussion, but we will be able to get back to you with any questions you may have. The format is for 1 hour. We are going to walk through a bit of an intro presentation, and then we're going to go into the live demonstration. We're going to keep a period for the end. Some of our participants have already sent me different questions, and so we're going to use those to get us started. It gives you a chance to add your questions into the chat, but if your questions come during the presentation, you can also add them in, and we will get to them when we can at the end. Without further ado, I'm going to get us started and push up the presentation here. So today's topic is to discover the AI solution that truly listens to your customers and your agents. And why are we talking about that today, and why is it important? And I'm going to let Neil and Jack introduce themselves just in a quick moment. I've already walked you all through our agenda for today. And so I will hand it off to Neil to introduce yourself.
Great. Thank you, Melissa, and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Neil Titcomb. As Melissa says, I'm the Senior Vice President of Global Sales here at Creo AI, coming to you live from London. Pleasure to be here today. So my role, obviously, is to oversee our go-to-market here at Creo AI. I oversee our channel partners and our direct sales teams around the world, and I've been in contact centers personally in the technology space for about 24 years, almost stopped counting now. So passionate about customer experience, passionate about innovation, and very passionate about customer insights and conversation intelligence. So looking forward to sharing some customer stories, some the value propositions that we can provide in working in conjunction with Promethy today. And most importantly of all, very proud to introduce Jack Murray, who will do, I know, a fantastic job of a live demonstration of the technology, which will hopefully bring to life some of the ideas I'll share with you in a moment. So with that, Jack, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Neil, and thanks, Melissa, for having us. Really good to meet everyone today. My name's Jack, the lead solutions consultant here at Creo AI. I've been in this space for just over 5 years now, and I've been with Creo AI for almost as long as that. Really looking forward to showing you our software today, showing you the value it can bring both in the large-scale post-call analytics, as well as assisting your agents on the front lines, taking those most difficult of interactions. So, no further ado, over to you, Melissa.
Fabulous. Thank you. So why are we here talking about this today? What is so important about conversational analytics and the solution that we're going to be talking about? Well, I'm going to do a little bit of a quick intro on Promethy and why we think this is so important. So Promethy is a Canadian consulting firm, and we really believe in transforming customer experience. And so we do this through regulated industries. And our tagline here is really with confidence and simplicity. We believe in connecting the right experts with the right technology to deliver results. Our mission, creating the future of service today. And so we really believe in being able to connect and leverage technology to be able to attain business results. And we do that for the last 6 years as an organization. And it's our pleasure to be able to talk about this solution today. About 18 months ago, Promethy as a firm started taking really a real look at how AI was transforming customer service and the customer experience. And so what we believe is that in the future, AI is going to have a prominent place in the customer interactions. And we think that the solution we're going to talk to you about today is one of the key components. And as I often say to people, when you're starting your AI journey, I can't see how you can do without it. It's so key to be able to understand what's happening in your environments, what's happening across all your channels, to be able to take thought through intelligent business decisions based on what's happening. That this for me is such a key cornerstone component, and why I'm a firm believer that the solution makes so much sense. So in the future, when we look at service on the screen here, AI is going to be present at all different levels. And solutions like the one we're talking about today really, I think, are key to the Canadian market being able to develop and launch itself into being deploying the customer service with AI, because it's going to be such an integral part. We see it outside of Canada, however, not present enough here. So that's why it was really key for us today to be able to do this webinar and to be able to show you the solution and start to stimulate some ideas and connect the dots. So as I said, AI is a huge opportunity in customer service. It's going to be the cornerstone. So when we say transforming, it's going to be taking calls, it's going to be taking chats, it's going to be listening to all of our interactions, it's going to be feeding agents in the contact center. It is really going to be an integral part of how business is operated. It's already present in many organizations around the world. And here today, we really want to look at that. So when we talk about this element, I say that it's present elsewhere in the world, because in Canada, we are behind. And this is common fact. I don't know how many different people are talking about it right now, but it's a really, it's kind of like a reflection point. And we need to take a step back in our organizations and look at how we can change that and catch up, because at the speed that it's moving, the pace of development, we're going to just be left behind. And that's not, I don't think, what any of our organizations are looking for. How is this already making a difference? Well, we look at artificial intelligence in the aspect of customer experience, customer service, to be able to really deliver the promise of personalization at scale, being able to equip our agents to deliver personalization at scale, to be able to detect when it's not delivering that as well, to be able to correct it and improve it, identify where things are going wrong, all of this with an ambition to really reduce costs. When we start talking about return on investment in these types of solutions, it's, I don't know the right word. It's eye-opening. It's really illuminating to see what the cost is versus what the impact that it has on the organization. It becomes just a no-brainer in many situations. So there's a massive cost reduction. We are going to be seeing better customer retention and loyalty because of these solutions, and definitely increased revenues. And I can't wait till we get to the demo later, Jack, because we're going to be able to show off some of these key components. It's really, I'm excited. And obviously, all of this with a stronger employee engagement. We know how difficult it is in the customer service departments in order to equip our agents, to make sure that we give them what they need, and so that they feel solid and equipped to stay on. Where we're talking about all kinds of solutions that can help that. And so when we, as an organization, started looking at the impact of AI in customer service, we started to look outside in the market, outside of Canada. And we have the pleasure of now partnering with Creovi, because they have this wonderful solution that we think absolutely can make a huge difference here for organizations. And that's why we're here today. So without further ado, Neil, I will let you go and talk to us a little bit more.
Thank you, Melissa. Thanks for the introduction. Great. So yes, let me take you through a little bit about our business and the solutions that we have to talk to Melissa's great introduction. So Kurovi has we've been around for about 12 years now, and our focus has always been on two key things: contact centers, first and foremost. We make no apology for that. That's our target customer. It's all about customer experience for us. And within customer experience in contact center, it's about the conversation. So 10 years ago, it was more around how we orchestrate conversations through workflow. Very successful business in designing workflow solutions for our businesses all over the world. That quickly then evolved into speech analytics, which then evolved into text analytics, omni-channel intelligence. And now more recently, as I'll move on to in a moment, the art of using generative AI in both post-call speech and text analytics, but also in the art of the actual real-time conversation. This really presents a fantastic opportunity for businesses to really leverage the power of generative AI in a controllable, measurable way that can deliver real benefit both to staff, but more importantly to customers. So if we could go to the first slide, Melissa, I'll endeavor to sort of set the scene a little bit as to why we do all of that. So as I mentioned, we have contact center customers all over the world. We're a business that has operations in both the US and Europe and globally, but operations in those two core regions. And a lot of our clients are based in those regions, and they come to us with a myriad of ever-changing problems, as is the world of customer experience today. We as consumers are putting more demand on businesses all the while, and that's upping the need to just get smarter and work more optimally and to satisfy those needs. And that's really the role of a contact center, to be ahead and be optimal in terms of providing good experience. And it's interesting that you might not know, I don't know actually what the statistics are for Canada specifically, but from a global average, only a third of all contact centers are analyzing every customer conversation that they take or make or indeed have sent to them in the written form. So huge amounts of information just being left in storage, most likely in the recorded sense, without any analysis or insight. And from a real-time analysis, using transcription and generative AI to actually understand the conversation as it's happening, that's nearly not even 1%. We're right at the beginning of that journey. So that's very exciting for those companies that are starting to adopt that technology. And that's what Jack will show you a little bit of in a moment when we get into the demonstration. But the problems that manifest from those gaps are long. And here's just a few, and I won't go through them all, but to pick out a couple. Agent turnover, the time and cost to train and level up performance to be optimal in a contact center is a problem I've seen for more than 20 years. It's never really gone away. It's particularly bad at the moment. Churn levels in most regions around the world range between 25 and 50% per annum of staff actually being transiting through the business, bringing a huge cost to that business. And a lot of that is down to agent fatigue, the stress of the job, the pressures that are being put on them by customers. And these technologies can go a long way to make that job just easier. It can do a great, make a big impact on how you can train someone just in a shorter period of time. But more importantly, as you'll see from the demonstration, it just gives them a great deal more assistance in handling these ever complicated phone calls that ultimately drive them away from staying in the job longer than they might normally do. So that's one that's not necessarily very obvious, but one that can have a real measured effect on how we can improve agent performance and even tenure. The journeys themselves of customers are getting longer. And why is that? Well, we've seen a natural shift to self-service over the last 10 years through the evolution of digital channels, and more recently with chatbots and the generic self-service tools. We wouldn't ring up a business anymore to find out basic information. We're going to go online, we're going to go to an app, we're going to go to a portal. So the calls that are left are complicated. They're things we can't self-serve, and we need to have a conversation. They're often highly emotive and complicated, and that brings more pressure on the agent and expectation on me as a consumer to have that dealt with in a simple way. So more tools again needed to try to satisfy those ever complex and lengthy conversations. And then time. So time is not the friend of any business, certainly not a contact center. Time costs money. Handle time, cost to serve is all conditions that we're all acutely aware of. And these complicated phone calls are getting longer, and average handle times are going up, which is putting more pressure on productivity and capacity. So we, again, I can show you some case studies in a moment, can demonstrate how with real-time agent guidance, but also understanding what's going on as a trend in all the conversations you're now analyzing, we can put steps in place to lower the time of the conversation, and that's freeing up capacity and lowering stress on both the consumer and of course the agent. Next slide, please, Melissa.
Mhm.
So we believe there's a huge amount of value in a customer conversation, and the 2/3 of businesses that aren't analyzing all the conversations are really leaving it to a manual piece of analysis. So maybe one call in 100, twice a month is actually listened to, and it's usually listened to purely from a quality standpoint, making sure the agent is conforming to the correct steps and procedures. And it's not listening to whether there's actually a trend and change in a particular competitor being mentioned, or some negativity around a process, or looking at particular product patterns or issues. The conversation itself of any contact center is so rich in its content. And what these tools can do is really lift out that information, which then will help not just the contact center operational team to make sure that people are performing to their trained standard, but it helps product marketing. It helps the executive team understand how they look at strategy and pricing. It understands how the products might be improved, or how you compete against a competitor that might have launched something you'd be otherwise unaware of until you analyze that 20% of your customers just started talking about it. So this is information that we feel is fundamental to driving change and being in front of your customers more than necessarily behind them. Next slide.
Mhm.
And the philosophy we adopt to all of that is one of listen, understand, and act. And that's really important, because you're already listening to conversations, some of you automatically, some of you manually. Most of you will be recording conversation, but of course the time to actually listen to them all is nearly impossible without these tools. Once we've unpacked all the conversations, and I stress all the conversations, so that's both the written communication from web channels, from bots, from an email, of course, case management tools, as well as all the phone calls, we can then start to make sense of it. And this is where the generative AI can really come into its own, by starting to get very clever in terms of what it can make sense of in terms of that data. And then the last part, the part that's probably been evolving more slowly because technologies had to catch up with this area, is how you then act upon it. And what Jack will show you is what we call sometimes the closed loop of taking the customer conversation data, making sense of what's being said, and then how do we apply those learnings to the future conversations that's yet to happen. And that's where real-time agent guidance comes into its own, because we're leveraging the information we've taken from the past to predict and change the future by getting ahead of the predictions of what the customers might be complaining about, or addressing in a certain way that we would otherwise not be aware of until it got to a point of escalation, potentially. Next slide. So I'm not going to cover this in too much detail. I just want to sort of set the scene. So we have effectively two core service solutions in our portfolio. We call Conversation Intelligence is our speech and text analytics tool. It's what I've been referring to in terms of how we can ingest conversations and text from any platform. We're completely platform agnostic. So for those of you that are using one contact center platform over another, it matters nothing to us. We can work and have worked with nearly every platform in the world today. We can take that data, and then, as Jack will demonstrate far better than I can describe, apply a whole host of tools to that, whether that's to look at the predictive CSAT of the conversation across all conversations, the root cause analysis of particular outcomes, clearly measure for quality and coaching and all those core attributes that any contact center would love to see. But of course, it's doing it en masse. It's every conversation without any scale limitations. And so some of our larger clients will be ingesting upwards of 200,000 or 300,000 hours of calls over a year in some cases. Next slide, Jack. And then this is the part that we're most proud of. Over the last year and a half, we've been developing very actively and diligently the concept of real-time agent guidance. And this is a tool which will take what's happening as I'm talking to you now, and then in using transcription technology, make sense of exactly what's being said, and then give the agent guidance, prompts, and feedback as to how to act in that moment. So there's an argument to say you could literally put an agent on the phone with no training. They can start to have the conversation, and the tool, as you'll see from Jack's demonstration, will then start to understand what's being asked and then offer assistance to the agent through a visual aid, an actual widget that pops up on the screen based on what they should say and also what they shouldn't say, or reminding them to do an act in a certain way that they might have forgotten. I'm not ever advocating you wouldn't teach and train your staff, but as a literal example, that's what you can get to. And the best example I would give before we get into the demonstration is one of a classic sales scenario. So in a sales scenario, be it proactive outbound or reactive inbound, we're always going to be faced with objections, and agents are continually trying to remember their training of what to say and do in reaction to a certain objection. I can't afford it. I need to talk to my partner. I need more time. I think it's too expensive. All the obvious ones and many, many more. These tools will be trained and designed, sometimes using the conversations from the past, sometimes not, depending on the situation, to offer up rebuttals, to give, maybe Jack is in that example as the agent, exactly what to say to hopefully overcome my objection to close the sale in that moment. And we've got examples, again, as I'll touch on in a moment, of situations where that's had a huge effect on the conversion of whether upsell or closure of all sorts of different services using this type of technology. And that's very, very exciting because, of course, we know how hard it is to think on the moment. And as I've already mentioned, some agents are very accomplished and have been doing the job a long time. Others are very new and are trying to figure it out and learn almost as they go. So this really does level the playing field a bit with that type of situation and many, many others.
This would have changed my life as a frontline agent. I can just imagine.
I know. I wore a headset too many years ago, and I can only imagine how this would be. Somebody sat next to me with a headset tethered to mine trying to whisper in my ear. And that's really what this is doing now, fully automatically.
In a much more efficient way.
A much more sophisticated, intelligent way is dynamically changing to what's being said more than what I might hear.
Absolutely.
And then this is the culmination of our two solutions. We call it intelligent guidance. It's what many of our clients now are really embracing. And it's really the power of the two solutions working hand in glove. So as I explained, once we've ingested and made sense of all the conversations of the past, we can then start to train the guidance of the future to react and continually change almost on a daily basis to the information we're capturing. So that might be that all our customers are starting to complain that we don't sell a particular product in green, or there's a new competitor on the market which is offering a better price point or better offer. How do we get ahead of that and give the agents empowerment to offer discounts or rebuttals on that new information that otherwise we might not have found out about until we've done some form of manual QA, or it's actually been fed back anecdotally from the agents who said, I've had 3 calls today from 4 different customers, all talking about a competitor. I didn't know who they were. Really? Who's that? Let's find out. You can't be that behind the curve. We want to give our customers the tools to be much more responsive to that kind of information. And this is how that can happen. Next slide. And then before we get into the use cases and the case studies, I fully appreciate, as an industry, because I've been in it for so long, how hard it is to sometimes get investment for new technologies. And I want to stress just how much of a demonstrable business value these solutions are. And we typically categorize the return on investment into 3 core areas that our clients have seen the most of, and they are customer retention and conversely churn, increasing sales, as I've alluded to, but also, of course, reducing costs. 3 very obvious things every contact center wants to strive to achieve. But I think in all the years I've been selling different technologies into the market, this is the first time that we can almost in every instance align how we can change these metrics really quickly with the use of these solutions. Customer churn, everyone's focused on that. If we can get ahead and predict when a customer might be looking to raise a cancellation or give notice to churn, and we can do that by the insights, looking at the sentiment and the trends of all the conversations they've had and how that compares to other companies and other customers, then we can start to proactively outreach long before they might serve notice and prevent that potential cancellation way before it even happens. Sales conversion, I've already touched upon it, getting ahead of understanding when an objection might come and then offering the best possible rebuttal based on marketing and sales tuning and also generative AI assistance to help the agent be the best they can be to close that piece of opportunity in that moment and not let a sale slip away. And then, of course, cost. Cost is everything. If we can reduce the bottom line cost to serve, then everyone's going to be interested. For us in this moment, it's typically around handle time. We've seen some tremendous changes in the average handle time with some of our clients using this technology. I've got some examples. Some of them can be very significant, sometimes in the tens of percentage points across the average handle time. And some clients' average handle time could be, in excess of 15 minutes for complicated insurance calls, for example. So if we jump ahead, Melissa, I think the next couple of slides just to talk to some of the examples. I wanted to stress we operate in all vertical markets. A lot of our clients are regulated industries, so the top three are there for a reason: financial services, insurance, and utility. Very, very aggressive users are looking for the obvious compliance improvements of using conversational intelligence, but it's not limited to that. We've had a lot of success in healthcare and business process outsourcing services, as well as a myriad of companies in travel and retail, of course, and others. But if I just drill into a couple and give you some examples of some of the things I've made reference to on the next slide, please, Melissa. You can see some of the results are just so tremendous, and I would encourage you to reach out to any of these clients. Karsha is a global brand of pressure cleaning equipment. It's a very popular consumer brand in Europe, and I think the US, and I'm sure Canada too. They've been using our conversation intelligence solution for many years now, and have seen a marked increase in both customer satisfaction and retention by the insights they gain from just understanding what the customers are talking about. If I look at Connexus, they saw a very large uptick in positive agent behavior, and the converse from that was they reduced their customer churn tremendously. But if I just jump to the next slide, I want to talk about NRTC and Hood Group. They're two insurance brands that have been using our services for a number of years now. Hood Group are actually an outsourced service provider for insurance services. So they're sort of an umbrella company for retail brands that might offer insurance products. So they are literally sort of the facilitator, if you like. They've been using our services to, again, provide their clients, like many outsourcers do, rich intelligence of how their conversations are being handled, but also getting ahead of where they're strong, where they're weak, to be able to be reactive to change. And that's had a measured effect on how they've been able to coach their staff, maintain and retain their staff, and more importantly, just provide a better service to their clients, which could be major retail brands in their case. NRTC is an American telco provider. They've been using our technologies for, again, a number of years. They've seen some of the most interesting and very specific changes in some of their metrics. AHT was for them a big win. They saw a massive reduction in the average handle time in using the conversation intelligence solution. That, as I kind of alluded to earlier, saw a real measured change in how agent attrition was reduced in their case, nearly by a third. And they saw a 12% increase in their average quality score, which was, again, great, because that, again, intercepts and feeds into the fact that the agent attrition was improved tremendously by just getting better into where agents need improvement before they walked out the door through fatigue or just frustration. I think that's all the slides I have before we get to Jack, if my memory serves me correctly. I'm conscious of the time. We're right on the bottom of the hour. That's perfect. I don't want to give Jack too much billing, but I will, because he's so good at this. But these solutions really do speak for themselves. They're best seen and, in this case, heard. And we were able to, very fortunately, demonstrate these solutions live using conversations. But before we do that, Jack's going to sort of segue into looking at the post-call conversation intelligence service first, and then we'll finish off by showing some of the real-time attributes that I've been talking to in the real-time agent assist. So with that, I'll pass over to Jack.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Neil. And I will say, first and foremost, it seems my camera has frozen. I will take that as the only technical difficulty we're going to be seeing today. And it's hopefully not too unflattering image to be stuck with.
You look
No.
okay. You look
Yeah.
okay. It could be worse.
Yeah, it could be much worse. So let me share out my screen first and foremost, and we will jump into the demonstration. There. So hopefully that's coming through for everyone now. And as Neil said, this is jumping straight into conversation intelligence. We have a demonstration platform set up here, but everything that you're going to be seeing today comes with the platform out of the box. And I will be stressing not just all of the features and functionality that come with it, but the customizability of the system to accommodate the business needs that you want to work on the most. So, what is conversation intelligence? At its core, this is a platform that gives you the ability to ingest and analyze every single interaction, customer facing or even internal, that you want to put through it. We've got very easy to use integrations with all of the major contact center players out there. So we can bring in your audio interactions, your digital live chats, even AI conversations that are being had, even outright through all the way through to things like cases from Salesforce, tracking a full end-to-end customer journey, giving you the insights that you're looking for from those conversations. As Neil said, it really is a gold mine. Being able to ingest anything up to 100% is going to give you a phenomenal amount of data using a platform like this. You can also customize, create, and build these sort of dashboards, KPIs, and reports that you're going to be seeing here today. I'm starting at a very fundamental level. So all of this data that we're going to be showing today is great, but being able to understand exactly what these conversations are about is the first and foremost priority. So what I'm starting with here is an example of being able to understand the call and contact drivers and the overall customer experience that we're seeing across our interactions. So this dashboard view is giving me a look at all of the KPIs I care about, ranging from daily contact volume, where I can see 4,413 interactions. I've also customized it to give me a delta difference, which you'll see across the system. So I can see whether we're up or down from 2 days prior. I can use the filter panel on the side here to customize this ad hoc or set up my own custom filters and dashboards really quickly and easily. If I wanted to look at a particular set date range, rolling back to the last 24 hours to the last 24 months, a particular set range, or filter it down to a particular team, department, or even type of interaction, like a call, chat, or case, it's very easy to set that up in the tool. Across those 4,413 interactions, our system, using the AI and speech analytics, has identified and bucketed those into call reasons. You can see those clearly identified here, ranging from order tracking through to new orders, all the way down to things like returns and exchange. So the system is going to be pulling these out automatically. And most importantly, it's going to be alerting you to new issues that are cropping up. The system is able to learn and develop from the conversation data that you feed into it. And as you see, this can be an almost near time experience. We can have your conversations from the second the live chat has ended, the phone call is put down in our platform within about 10 minutes. We can do a lot of outstream reporting from here as well. So if you need to push all this information to your own internal Power BI or reporting, or get email notifications from the platform, that can all be done from within this tool. Now, being able to understand, I say contact reasons is fantastic, but what we care about then is, well, the customer experience along those different contact drivers. So I'm going to scroll down and look at some metrics we have in the tool, such as our patented effort index, because the system is all about pointing you to those interactions that need the most attention and then allowing you to take action on those calls where needed. So our effort marker is, as I said, a patented tool where we can actually grade the amount of effort exerted by the customer on every single interaction. We can bucket these into broadly low effort, easy to deal with calls that are short, in and out, positive sentiment, low average handle times, and no real frustration markers, to maybe calls that were slightly higher effort, maybe even calls that were so high effort there was even a risk of potential churn, or ultra high effort calls. All of these KPIs can be clicked to drill down to the underlying data, and we'll touch on this more as the demo goes through. but I can get straight to those underlying interactions and the transcripts or outright full copy of that call from any of these KPIs that I'm clicking on. Scrolling back here, we can then go in to see if we were wanting to focus on particularly negative calls where sentiment was low from the customer, effort was high, we can track that using the emotion and sentiment tracking we've got in the tool. So we can see that across those contact drivers that you saw earlier, we're seeing high amounts of uncertainty from customers, high amounts of frustration, also high amounts of price concerns and confusion. By identifying the contact drivers above, we can then start to slice and dice this analysis to let us really see where problem areas lie. Big drivers of confusion. People are calling in to review charges on their account or talk about a refund or credit inquiry. And these are driving confusion from the customer at a much higher rate than others. So if we're looking at a negative sentiment analysis, these are areas that we could take a closer look at. You can see there's some crossover as well with uncertainty from the customer along those similar lines. Whereas key drivers of frustration are people having to switch channels when they talk to us, people trying to self-serve and not being able to, people having to demonstrate reoccurring effort, so we're not getting that first call resolution that we're looking for, even the way through to issues that might crop up on a more temporal basis, like potential issues with our application or website or other services that we might offer that may be emergent. We can take a deeper dive and look at this as we like. The system allows you to be as granular with your analysis as you need to be. So if we were to focus that same sort of view that you saw on the previous dashboard to maybe a particular product or service that we offer, we can see exactly how our customers and callers are feeling about that. We're focusing on one particular product line in this dashboard view from the previous section. We're looking at a wider swathe of data. So you can see our contact volume has gone up to the last month's worth of calls. We can see the average handle time against that calls where this particular product is being mentioned. And you can see we're well above the set benchmark that we put in the tool. Even though our top 25% is down to 3 minutes, on average, we're almost 10 minutes for a call about this particular product with high amounts of customer effort. You can also see, again, as you'd expect, high amounts of negative sentiment. But scrolling down, what we want to be able to do is take action on this. We want to drill into the actual reasons that people are giving for that negative sentiment when they call in. And we can start to see using a chart like this, which you'll see quite a lot in the tool today, this quadrant view that lets us view really easily on the x-axis, the frequency with which we're getting a particular issue, and on the y-axis, how big an impact it's having. So the one that stands out to us straight away is the sheer volume of calls that we're getting about people saying, hey, I bought this product and this feature isn't working. Also a big spike in people saying, I've had to update my system and version and it's no longer working as well. So this system immediately lets me see not just that we're getting negative sentiment, it lets me see what that negative sentiment is about, the particular product that's driving it. And again, across that time frame that I've got, it lets me see whether this is an issue that's been going on for a while or is an issue that is emergent. We can combine our sentiment and emotional data with our CSAT AI. CSAT AI is, again, a Creavai patented AI tool that allows for predictive customer satisfaction scores to be applied to every single interaction. We almost call it the death of the post-call survey, because post-call surveys are fantastic, but we know that they get very low uptick rates. And I don't know about the audience we've got today, but personally, I only fill them out if I'm overwhelmingly happy or overwhelmingly annoyed with the service that you've received. So you get a very limited picture of the true customer sentiment, and you also get quite a skewed picture of the customer sentiment. Now you're getting that data from an unbiased model at scale across every interaction you want to put through us. And then you start to see, hopefully, that, again, we can slice and dice this data with other areas of the analytics to give you the true insight as to how we can drive these sentiment scores up. If I scroll it down, we can see, of course, CSAT scores as a whole or trending, but we could start to see, is there a particular maybe team, department, or even individual agent who might be really struggling in this area? If we look at two sets of agents, our top and bottom performers, within the same team, what is someone like Michael Mann or Jeremy McLean doing compared to Sarah Singleton or Patrick Cross that's leaving them to have almost a 50% customer dissatisfaction rate on their interactions? Where perhaps we could look at the top performers coaching interactions for potential coaching and insight as to why they're leaving their customers in a much better place. Scrolling down, looking at dissatisfied customers, again, we could cross-reference this by, most importantly, contact driver or product. Even using things like word clouds to see what are people mentioning the most when they are leaving on a very dissatisfied note. We can see the sort of top behaviors that customers are demonstrating on these dissatisfied calls, such as mentioning that they're a long-time customer and not getting the service they're looking for. Even having to repeat information again and again, having to speak to people multiple times about the same thing on a customer journey, as well as maybe even something as simple as I was promised a callback and never got it. Those kind of broken promises are absolutely devastating to that overall CSAT score. But of course, we're not just going to focus on the negative. We want to see what we're doing right as well, and the system lets you identify that, and as I say, start to take that into coaching and feedback. And that's what I want to move on to next, because as Neil said, we really focus on the reducing of cost, reducing of churn, and improving that conversion rate. Reducing cost, a huge boon to our customers, as you saw, is the auto QA module that we've got in the platform. So this module lets you set up and define your own automated quality assurance scoring that you can use to score your agents on every single interaction. So the time you're spending doing manual QA now, we can automate all of that work and allow those QA agents who are spending all of their time listening to calls and scoring them to really start to add value back to the business. And of course, expand indefinitely without the need for further headcount, because we've got a system that's going to let the grunt work get done and let the people actually provide that value back. So this sort of dashboard view is what we call maybe a manager or overall QA view. I can see the QA score for my team, department, or line of business. I can see that across an average for the time frame I have selected. I can see whether we're trending up or down, or whether we're above where we need to be as a goal. I can view that across a longer time period to see, is the coaching and feedback we're doing having an improvement? I can see my agent sentiment, how we're falling across different score ranges. But scrolling down, this will give you a feel for just what's possible within the QA tool. In this example, we've set up a QA scorecard, and it has 5 key metrics within it. Connection, the opening and greeting of the agent, the verification, the compliance section, all the way through to the end of the call. You can create your scorecard with whatever custom categories and sectioning and scoring that you need. But what this lets you do is then view not just the performance as a whole, it allows you to easily spot problem areas like Johnny Velasquez, and not just an overall problem, but if there's a specific area that they struggle with. Verification, the most important piece of his overall scorecard, that compliance section that could lead to potential regulatory fines with some of our customers. Johnny's not just not good in this area, we can see that he's also getting worse. He's down 14%. Carolyn Jennings is also a problem, but she's up 25%. So we can do some further coaching there, but we definitely need to target this with Johnny. And you can, of course, see as well where an entire team might need some further training and success with resolution. And this is an overall manager's view. We could get this as granular as an individual agent view as well. So you can build a sort of one-touch template dashboard like this and apply it to every agent within your team. So Michelle, she can see her total interactions, how she's handling the basics, whether she's having a positive or negative impact on her calls, and how she's done on that automated scorecard. Scrolling down, we can then tie that back to particular effort creating behaviors, or where an agent is having an overall negative impact. Looking at these, we can see where this agent is demonstrating things like powerlessness to help, saying, oh, I don't really know how to help you with this issue, or being confused, or even transferring or redirecting calls at a higher rate than average. We can see that these behaviors are really prevalent on these types of interactions. And as we saw from the very first dashboard, those refund or credit inquiry calls are an area we've got a bit of a problem. But the agent does handle these types of interactions really, really well. Looking for those positive behaviors like good brand advocacy, active listening and acknowledgement, good probing questions and expectation setting. The agent handles these types of calls really, really well. And again, take that into coaching, use this agent as an example for others who might be struggling in this area. We can look at that on an individual interaction view as well. So the most granular level of detail in the system is this individual conversation view. This is a phone call example, but this is going to show you the level of insight that you can pull out of this data. At the top line, you can see the entire timeline of the interaction with the ability to also play back the call recording of that phone call so you can play along and listen. Every key moment that you care about, ranging from QA behaviors that you're seeing here to contact drivers and negative sentiment, are all flagged throughout the call on a timeline view. And I can jump to any one of these areas in the call if I need to. But I'm going to scroll down because I also want to show you things like the AI, the way we're using AI to further empower the sort of QA and contact driver and other areas of analysis. We allow for AI summarization for a quick snapshot of the call, AI chapter breakdown to show you exactly what happened at each step of the conversation and when, and underneath the actual transcript view. So we can see where the agent has spoken and the customer has spoken, and the system has automatically pulled out these what we call categories from your data. So blocked card, declined transaction, the system has picked that up from the transcript itself. And this is intelligent conversational analysis, natural language understanding. This is not just keyword acknowledgement. You can train the system, and we have trained the system on well over 1,000 of these sort of categories now to pick out the most common use cases, giving you the ability to also train it on your own data to spot areas, behaviors, issues, and products that you want to be alerted to. It doesn't matter how the customer would have said this issue. They could have said, I was trying to use my card and it got blocked, or I was trying to use my card and I got denied. Can you tell me what's going on? The system's going to understand the nuance and the intent to pull out that issue and bucket it for you in a way that you can report on, like you're seeing here. We can see those QA behaviors also being pulled out the same way. And we can see at a high level that effort score, that QA score, that CSAT score, the sentiment, all on an individual interaction level. This agent scored a 100 out of 100 on this call, and we can see how that was reflected in the scores tab from here. They nailed all of their behaviors, and it will show you where, most importantly, maybe they didn't, but they still got the appropriate score depending on how your scoring set up. Focusing again on reducing cost, we can look at that agent behavior to maybe reduce average handle time, being able to identify areas of unnecessary calls where we've got things like repeat contacts, channel switches, or having to transfer or redirect interactions. We can look at that average handle time, and we can start to look at what we call root cause analysis to start to see what kind of calls, again, what reasons for contact are driving that average handle time up the most. We can see that a huge volume of online banking calls are adding about 2 minutes to every interaction. If we focused on training our agents to handle those calls better, we could cut almost 2 minutes per interaction off our average handle time. We could look at agent impacts on this as well, including things like silence time and how dominant they are speaking on the call. And focusing and looking now at maybe customer retention and moving on to a final act of sales, being able to retain customers by actually measuring, for example, the reasons customers are likely to leave you. So moving away from the agent behaviors to, again, back to the customer mentions. Customers are most likely to leave us, again, because of price. This kind of data you wouldn't be able to pull out using manual analytics. Using all of our data at scale, these are the most common objections that we see. We can look at our overall churn rate, callback rate, how often we're getting complaints and escalations, even down to which particular service, in this case a bundle, is most at risk. We can track why people are most unhappy on calls where they mention that bundle. And then we start to get into the realm of intelligent guidance. Because in both this view and the sales view, what we're going to do is actually start to understand using your data, what is the best thing an agent can say in the moment when they're coming up with a difficult call like this. If they're trying to retain a customer, we can look across all of your interactions and see what is going to have the best outcome in retaining a customer that the agent can do on a call. If they're dealing with something like a no improvement, demonstrating that saying something like a manager will come out to see you is going to have a great rate on the customer service and may even lead to that customer staying rather than churning. And if we look at this from a sales perspective, we can look at overall sales performance across every single one of our agents. We can start to see how our teams are performing against the overall average conversion rate, whether they're above average or below. In this case, we're looking at all of our different states. But we can uncover critical areas that you might be missing. Agents might not be asking for the sale, simple basic behaviors. They may not be able to rebut common customer objections. And we can identify the top objections we want to overcome, as well as our most successful sort of sales pitches. And what we're going to do now is take that into the real-time view to show you how that works on a real-time interaction. Because I have this open here, and I'm just going to move my screen around because what we have is our real-time agent guidance window. So imagine now I'm an agent on the call. I've taken a call into the contact center, and Agent Assist is there to support me. I'm going to launch a demo of our outbound internet sales. And what this is going to do is start listening to me automatically when I answer the phone. So we listen to the telephony, and you can see in the top right, audio is streaming. So it's listening to me as the agent through my headset. Everything I say is being transcribed, and everything the customer says is also going to be transcribed. And we use all of that analytics you've just seen in real time in the moment to give the agent real-time QA and support on every interaction. So when I say things like, hey, good morning, can I confirm I'm speaking to Neil Titcombe?
Yes, this is Neil.
Hey, Neil, my name's Jack. I'm calling today because you're an existing customer. I wanted to review the new internet offers we've got to make sure that you, as a really valued customer, continue to get the unbelievable prices at the unbelievable speeds you've come to expect. I wanted to know if you had a few minutes.
I was actually looking to cancel the service, actually, Jack. I'm having some issues with speed.
Oh, well, I'm really sorry to hear that. But what the system has done is we've taken the objection that we've heard from Neil and we've automatically prompted me as the agent with a rebuttal. And that rebuttal can be it can be powered from your own knowledge sources, it can be hard coded into the tool, or it can be pulled from the best possible rebuttal that we've identified within the post-call analytics. So Neil's got speed issues. That means I know exactly what to say next to prevent that customer from leaving us. So, well, I appreciate the honesty, Neil. Like any service, we've definitely had areas where we've had challenges, but I don't know if you know that we had recent fiber optic expansion to our network. Our current customer satisfaction rates are really high. I'd love to share some testimonials with you.
Okay, fair enough.
Brilliant. And then I can move through the rest of that interaction. So the system's going to keep me compliant. It's going to remind me of every step that I have to do on every single call. So when I say things like, can I just confirm your address, confirm your zip code, and confirm your telephone number, the system will tick those off in real time as we go through. And it will guide me as the agent through that interaction through to the very end, where I can do things like real-time summarization, disposition, and wrap up. For example, I can use the AI features here to summarize that interaction, and it will give me a real-time summary of everything that's been said in that transcript view there. So with 3 minutes to spare, I think we just about got through it all. I really hope you enjoyed that look at the overall solution of both real-time and post-call analytics and intelligent guidance. Thank you all.
Thanks, Jack.
Thank you very much, Jack. Really appreciate that. That was really, really interesting. Lots of great insights and great overview of how we're able to use the system in order to help businesses identify what are the issues, how things are going in their organization, what are the pain points. And I really like for the example you mentioned before, it's not just like a small sampling, it's across all of the interactions. And so being able to kind of have your finger on the pulse of your organization almost in real time across all of those channels and see what's happening, where are your biggest opportunities. I mean, today organizations can have this and they can be really ahead of the curve and really kind of be pulling against their competition. One day this is going to be part of the status quo, I think, as we go into the future. And so organizations are going to have this kind of system in order just to stay competitive with their organization. So there's a lot of value, a lot of insights here.
So true.
We have a couple of little questions. I don't know if we can have a moment maybe just to dive into one or two of them real quick. So I mean, one of the ones that was sent in here, so what, I like this one. Does this mean my managers no longer have to do QA? I remember doing many Sunday nights listening to calls at my house. I don't know.
Well, they definitely won't have to just cherry pick and manually look for calls anymore. No, they'll get a report or a dashboard or both sent to them, which will summarize all of that analysis and all be done for them. So short answer is no, they won't have to do that anymore.
That's wonderful. So how long, another one here is, how long does a deployment typically take? What are we looking at in terms of kind of effort for the organization? I mean, the system looks really simple. If somebody wants to kind of move forward, what should they kind of factor in terms of planning and effort?
Obviously, every implementation is a little different, but we always strive to deliver value as quick as possible. These solutions obviously are as wide as they are deep, and we have lots of blueprints to enable quick deployments. I think as a broad average, particularly around conversation intelligence, then 6 weeks would be usually more than enough time to get the system into a production ready state and analyzing and providing quality analysis back to the business. If it was to include a real-time component, that could add a bit more time, maybe another 2 or 3 weeks. But these aren't projects that will take months to deploy. That's an important point to make. The value comes quickly, and some of those results you saw from our other clients, they were realized very fast. The ROI on this stuff can potentially be less than 3 months in some cases. It's really pleasing to see.
Absolutely. So that answered another question that we had here, which was how soon can I start to expect to see data and be able to consume that data in order to be able to leverage it and start getting my return on investment. So that was one of the other points.
Yeah. That's the best part, Melissa. I mean, basically, the minute we start ingesting, we can start to show results. And what I would encourage the audience to consider is part of our service delivery is to take us some sample calls from time to time, and we can run those through the models and actually demonstrate and show the kind of insights we can get on your actual conversations, just as a sample set, maybe 100 calls, maybe even 1,000. And that will just give everyone the confidence that this is a very quick solution to see the value. And we joke often, Jack and I, because it is lifting the lid a little bit. And one of Jack's favorite phrases is, please don't promote or fire anybody from these results, because you are going to see things you wouldn't otherwise know. Because it needs to be put in full context, but that's true. You are going to really go a lot deeper into data you would otherwise not have any access to.
Absolutely. I think we're gonna have to stop off on questions. So next steps for everybody. So as you know, this session is recorded. You can consult it back at any time. We always tend to reach out to anybody who's participated for a little bit of feedback on the session, what you appreciated from it, what we can do better for the next time. I want to thank Neil and Jack for taking the time with us today. It's really some great insights, lots of knowledge that you've shared with us in terms of what is possible with this kind of solution. And I think that it's kind of going to help people like percolate some ideas, let those things emerge. If you want to know more, if you want a personalized demonstration, if you want, as Neil said, to kind of dive into your data specifically, please reach out to me and I will be able to organize this and talk about the next steps. Obviously, with this kind of change, as I mentioned right off the top, this is, I think, a first piece that's key in an AI in service transformation. And we are able to position that and accompany you and explain and walk you through all of those steps. One of the things that I think is really cool, but we didn't even talk about, is in terms of if we just go with the conversational analytics part, in terms of like change management or effort in the organization, we're talking about even a very low impact. I mean, it's gaining knowledge for not too much impact on your team, so you can like just go and kind of like filter through and pull all that data and start making decisions with very minimal impact in terms of your frontline teams. So that's always a key component. I know in customer service teams, how is this going to affect my agents? Is this going to like require lots of training, lots of effort? Just that first component is really key to having a low impact on that, I think. In terms of next events here at Promethe, we will be excited to welcome anyone who is interested in participating in our executive breakfast that we're hosting on August 21st at 8 a.m., where we want to help our executives here locally in Montreal understand what it is that are the next best questions. What should you be asking yourselves in order to prepare your organizations for that future of service that we talked about, in order to close the gap and jump ahead of the curve in organizations here locally. And October 7th, we have another event where we are organizing a conference with keynotes, immersive workshops, where you'll be able to see partners like Creo sit here today and be able to kind of understand what it is the solution can do, and talk directly with members of the different teams in these immersive workshops and different demonstrations. So if you are interested in joining either of these events, please scan the QR code and sign up to our mailing list, and I will be in touch in not too long, or a member of my team. Thank you, Neil, so much for this. Jack, it was a pleasure. I mean, every time you showed me this, I can't. I get too excited. It was a pleasure, and thank you to everyone who joined us today, or if you're watching it in post live presentation. Thank you for taking the time, and it's going to be a pleasure to discuss more with you guys about it. Have a great day.
Thanks, Melissa. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.